Are you crazy? Because I know I am, and today I'll be doing a deck profile of my, for fun, completed, never gonna be touched again, Dark Irregulars deck. First, the starter. Vereflutter Ordnance. From Rearguard, Generation Break 1, Counterblast 1, and throw Vereflutter in the Soul. Soul Charge 2, and if the number of cards are in your Soul is 6 or more, draw a card. Starts off the party of Soul Charging and drawing a card if there's enough in the Soul. Moving on to triggers, go with 4 heals, because they heal. And the Amon follower, Hell's Trick. Having some Amon is helpful for another card coming up. Moving into 2 Hysteric Shirley draw triggers. Throwing Hysteric Shirley in the Soul from Rearguard allows you to Soul Charge another card. You can just put her in the Soul if you only need one, or you can put the other one in. It's helpful in having 2 draw because this draw comes in after Generation Break is nice. So having the 2 draw triggered hit before Generation Break requirement is very helpful. Moving into 6 critical triggers. 4 of them being Amon's Follower, Grossom's, 2 of them being Amon's Follower Cool Hand, and Grossom is the card that matters. Why we have some Amons in here. Counterblast 1 card with Amon in its name. When Grossom is put into the Soul due to an effect from one of your cards, if the number of cards in your Soul is 6 or more, you may pay the cost. If you do, your opponent chooses one of his or rear guards and retires it. Whenever Amon's Follower Grossom goes into the Soul, I have the 6 cards in Soul, I can counterblast an Amon. I always just like to go, would you kindly in the life of something, and bring back, I think of Bioshock when I play with Dark Irregulars. I have no idea why, but I do. Then 4 Monochrome of Nightmare Land, a Generation Break stand trigger, this one for Dark Irregulars. On Rearguard, Generation Break 1 requirement, put Monochrome of Nightmare Land on top of your deck, shuffle your deck, Soul Charge 1. Then if the number of cards in Soul is 6 or more, choose a card from the damage zone, turn it face up. Then if the number of cards in Soul is 10 or more, draw a card. So, very useful when there are 9 cards in the Soul, and this happens a decent amount of times, that you can get 9 cards in the Soul. So you call a Nightmare Land, put her on top of the deck, shuffle it up, Soul Charge, then Counter Charge and draw. Sometimes I even draw Monochrome again, and I've been able to go from 9 cards to 15 in the Soul just off of drawing Monochrome of Nightmare Land 4 out of the 6 times. I had 3 copies in my hand. It was crazy. Very fun, and of course having 15 cards in the Soul is the trigger for our main card. Once we get to Strides, now 4 copies of Amon's Follower Vlad Specula. Keeping Vlad Specula instead of Flagbreaker because of the Amon name. That's my reason. It's not about being able to guard rear guards, it's just about the Amon name. I don't care for guarding rear guards, things happen. This isn't a deck that I play in a tournament with. I've played it in 1 tournament. It was the only tournament that I played here in the Kentuckiana area. It's the only tournament I'll be able to, because I have not seen any other place that does Vanguard. I got second with it. But there was only like 6 people at the tournament, so it was very, very low. So, I don't care for guarding rear guards, I just want the Amon name. That's my reasoning for using Vlad Specula. Moving on to 2 Dimension Creeper. Dimension Creeper, a very useful card from BT12. Act from the Soul, put Decreep in the drop zone. And if you have a Dark Irregulars Vanguard, Soul Charge 2. So for the cost of, really not a cost, dropping 1 card from your Soul, you get to add 1 more. So you drop Dimension Creeper, Soul Charge 2, giving you a +1 in Soul. Doesn't take anything from hand, just takes things off the top of your deck, which is a closed zone, so you don't know really what's coming anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. Then 4 copies of the reason I can never have boosters in this deck, Killing Dollmaster. So, Killing Dollmaster. From Rearguard, put Killing Dollmaster into the Soul at the beginning of your main phase and Soul Charge 2. So, for the cost of moving a Rearguard into Soul, you get to add 3 cards to the Soul in total, which is very useful. And then moving on to 4 copies of Succubus of Pure Love. Stride Fodder search out the Scarot Vampire, but that's not important in this deck. I don't run them. But as I was mentioning, Perfect Guards I don't want to use on rear guards, so I don't like to have them. as boosters. Killing Dollmaster used to go on the soul, so boosters go away. I want Dimension Creeper in the soul anyway, and I really like to Stride. So the one thing I can always say about this deck is that there is rarely any boosters. So it's a good thing I play it the way I do. Now on to grade 2s, 4 copies of Blue Dust. Blue Dust, when his attack hits from Vanguard or Rearguard, if you have a Dark Irregular Vanguard, Soul Charge 1. So there's no Counterblast requirement, there's no GB requirement, there's no Amon requirement, there's no nothing. It's just when the attack hits, be it Rearguard or a Vanguard, Soul Charge 1. It's nice because it's early game pressure. It helps fill the soul early, and that's a very important thing to do. Then moving on to 4 copies of another just very easy and early Soul Charger, Flirtatious Succubus. When this unit is placed on Vanguard or Rearguard, Soul Charge 1, if you have a Dark Irregular Vanguard. And that's very, very helpful, very important, just being able to fill the soul with not Generation Break requirement cards, just being able to fill it no matter what. Speaking of a Generation Break requirement card, 2 copies of Skullmaker Vampire. Skullmaker Vampire skill was good enough that I forego the whole not requiring Generation Break on anything but my starter. And I thought that 2 copies of him would be perfect, and it's been enjoyable. So, from Rearguard, Generation Break 1, Counterblast 1 when this unit attacks a Vanguard if this unit is boosted, Soul Charge 2, and give Skullmaker Vampire plus 5k. Now, Skullmaker Vampire can be tough because he does have that booster requirement, and as I mentioned, it's very hard for me to always and consistently have boosters. So, Skullmaker Vampire is not that important, but he's very helpful. It's just that I felt that running 4 copies of my next card was a little too much, and this is my main grade 2, the one that I want to ride, but even just at 2, I get it enough. And that is Decadent Succubus. I love Decadent Succubus. It's been my main Soul Charger until I get to Generation Break. It's a great skill. From Vanguard, when another Dark Irregular is placed on Rearguard, Soul Charge 1. So when you ride up to grade 2, you just wanna call everything. You know, just call everything that you can, except what you're going to use later. Don't call a bunch of grade 2s in the back row just to get Decadent Succubus, but call grade 2s, call the grade 1s in your hand. If you got a Dimension Creeper in your hand, call it. If you have a Killing Dollmaster at this point in your hand, call it. Especially combining Decadent Succubus with Flirtatious Succubus, Soul Charge 2. Because if Decadent's on the Vanguard, then you call Flirtatious, you Soul Charge for Flirtatious and for Decadent. Combine it with Blue Dust, and he Soul Charges 1 when he's placed. Now he Soul Charges 1, and then from his skill he Soul Charges 1 when he's hit, or when he hits. It's a nice combo, and Decadent Succubus is my favorite grade 2 to ride in this deck. It's one of my favorite grade 2s just in the game of Vanguard. Now, 3 copies of Demon Marquis Amon Reverse. Stride fodder essentially, but he's a final turn pusher at the very end because I always want to sit on my next guy and just use him. But if for some reason there's not 15 cards in the soul and you can't get off Guild Array, then ride him on, go for that final game push, act, limit break. So, choose one of your Dark Irregular Rearguards and lock it. No counterblast cost. That's very nice. This unit gets plus 1,000 for each Dark Irregular soul until end of turn, and if the number of Dark Irregular in your soul is 6 or more, this unit gets a crit. So for the cost of simply locking a unit, which isn't going to be too hard because I often have grade 2s in hands, I can just call it to the back row and lock it. Then I can gain massive amounts of power. Say there's 13 cards in the soul and there really is no way to get 15. Riding them on, that works. But the way that especially works is the main grade 3 of the deck. My favorite, a contender for best break ride ever since we entered the Stride era, King of Mass Dantarian. Became instantly better when we entered the Stride area. Became instantly better when we entered the Stride era, King of Mass did. His skill, Limit Break 4. When a Dark Irregular rides King of Mask's Dantarian, choose your Vanguard, and until end of turn, that unit gets plus 10,000. and choose up to 3 of your Dark Irregular rear guards, and until end of turn they get continuous, this unit gets plus 1,000 for each Dark Irregular in your soul. So the main goal of Dantarian is to break ride, to break ride, to break ride, to pitch your Amon, to pitch your stride fodder, to stride afterwards, because you want to just milk giving your rear guards so much power. He also has the other break ride skill, the traditional one. When this unit attacks, soul charge 1, he gets plus 1,000 till end of battle. But that's why a final turn push of Amon Reverse over Dantarian can really work, because Amon will gain 10k from Dantarian, then 12k from all the cards in the soul, but the rear guards, 3 of them specifically, 3 of them, will gain all the cards in the soul, and they gain a continuous skill, so if you keep soul charging, so say you soul charge another card, your rear guards get that additional power too. It's a nice continuous skill, very helpful. And now moving on to strides. 2 copies of Love Tempest, Kiss Kill Liara. So when Kiss Kill Liara's attack hits a Vanguard, soul charge 2, and if the number of cards in your soul is 6 or more, draw a card. There's that drawback. This, as I'm just realizing now, the draw really is very minimal. But the 3 cards do it enough. Kiss Kill, our starter, and Monochrome of Nightmare Land honestly draw enough that I don't have too much of a problem. Now this deck isn't gonna win you tournament. This deck isn't gonna win you tournaments, probably. It's probably not gonna win you locals. It's definitely not gonna win you a regional. It's not gonna win you a match in a team league. No, it's nothing like that. This is just a fun deck that I enjoy playing. It's my personal build. It's the first deck I ever completed, honestly, because OTT's never done. Gold Paladin became done for a little while, but then the new shit came out. I do a Gurgurwit build on that, so Gurgurwit's new stuff's probably going to make me change it. But this deck, this is one that I felt really good about. I just enjoy playing it, and I'm done with it. I'm happy to just finish it and basically lock it in a vault, bring it out, and play it against all the new stuff that comes out. We're moving on to Great Demon, Soulless Demagogue. Alright, when you know you have a massive turn of soul charging coming, this is when you soul charge him first. Or when you stride him first. Yeah, soul charge Soulless Demagogue. That'd be a very impressive stride. Now, during your main phase, when a card is put into your soul until end of turn, this unit gets continuous. During your turn, all the units in your front row get plus 1,000. So, soul charge 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which can happen in a single turn. Everybody in the front row gets 9k. That includes these 2 that were here. They were down beforehand, you know, they gotta be down when the soul charge, but every unit in the front row, including him, gets plus 1,000. Not for every card in the soul, but for every card that you soul charge. So that's very helpful. When you have a turn of massive soul charging coming, stride into Soulless Demagogue. And why do you want to turn a massive soul charging? Why do you want to break ride over break ride over break ride? Because of the 4 copies of the Abominable one. Break ride over break ride over break ride. Because of the 4 copies of the Abominable one. Guild Array. Act. Once per turn, Persona Flip. If the number of cards in your soul is 10 or more, this unit gets plus 10,000 power until end of turn. Then, if the number of cards in your soul is 15 or more until end of turn, this unit gets, when this unit attacks a Vanguard, your opponent cannot call grade 1 or greater cards from hand to Guardian Circle. If the number of face-up cards in your G-Zone is 2 or more, this unit gets plus 1 critical until end of turn. Guard Restriction. Guard Restriction is very fun. It's fun for everyone, except for the people playing against it. Guild Array is a really good piece of Guard Restriction because you can get 15 cards on the soul pretty easily. If you do the Scarrot Vampire style, then that helps even more. But the thing I love about the Dantarian Break Ride over Break Ride is that Gilderay is going to be a 36k on his own. My rear guards are now going to be 24 because I probably have something like Flirtatious Succubus and Blue Dust in the front row. And if I got lucky and had, say, a Succubus of Pure Love in the back row, running stands, I got a, let's say there's 15 cards in the soul. I broke road. Now I'm starting into Gilderay. Flirtatious Succubus goes up to 24. The units have to be on the field beforehand first. Blue Dust goes up to 24. Succubus of Pure Love goes up to 22. Gilderay sitting at 36. You cannot call grade 1 or greater on him. It's going to take 2 cards at least to block her. It's going to take 3 cards at minimum to block him. These are all 10k shields. That's the way you just count cards by just counting how many 10k shields it takes. It takes 2 to block Flirtatious. Takes 3 10ks to get a 1 to pass on Gilderay. And with our 24 plus 22, that's a 46. It takes 4 to block Blue Dust. Now, running stands, by this point our deck has thinned out, but if we can put our stands back in and know that they're in there, oftentimes you attack with Flirtatious, you'll attack with Gilderay, you will drive check that all-important stand trigger. Now, depending on the size of your deck, maybe you don't attack with Flirtatious first. You attack with your 46 first. And because your deck is so thin, you have a high chance of drive checking double stands. That's another reason Monochrome of Nightmare Land helps. We just took our 46 up to a 56, and it's a 4th attack for the turn. Your opponent's perfect guards are going to come out of their hand on the turn that Gilderay is called, but they're not coming out for Gilderay, which just makes it even better. Because say they survive the Gilderays, and we're stuck there. We're sitting upon our great King of Mass Dantarian. Whoops, that's the wrong unit. We're sitting upon our King of Mass Dantarian. We've got 15 cards in the soul. Well, now we have 16. They still gain their 16,000 power. He gains 26. We just call anything from hand, lock it, and we've signified another crazy power-based turn. I love this deck because it has a very big chance and a propensity to blow up in your face. I love it. Sometimes you're going to soul charge Vlad Specula, Vlad Specula, Vlad Specula, Vlad Specula. It happens. Monochrome, Monochrome. All your grade 3s, and those are not going to be broke road. They soul charge in every piece you need. Killing Dollmaster, not coming to hand, going to soul. It happens. That's the risk you take. But oftentimes, it doesn't matter. Because you're still having fun either way. And oftentimes, you get the pieces you need and the pieces you don't, like 1 copy of him, 1 copy of that, 2 of those, you threw those in on your own, you put that in there, you don't need that, you rode that one earlier, these are in there because you only need 1, same thing with Blue Dust, you didn't use Skullmaker that turn, you don't need all 4 copies of that, 1 of that, 1 Monochrome's in there, you threw another one in there, followed by 2 of those to make your opponent lose cards, and you had the decreeps, which are now in the drop zone, helping you by throwing more cards in there. That's a pretty nice soul. Sometimes you just have it go perfectly. I've had games where there's not been a single trigger put in the soul, I've had games where there's 10 of them. But I love it. It's just very, very fun. And that's the most important part in the game of Vanguard. It's just finding a deck that I can have fun with. I don't play this one much anymore. You know, for reasons, as I've stated earlier, it's not super competitive. And I'm focusing on other decks right now. But when I do, I always have a good time. Win or lose, soul charge everything I needed, or soul charge only what I wanted to put in there. It's a fun time. I urge you to try out the Dark Irregulars clan. I urge you to try out a build similar to mine. I urge you to focus on fun and not on winning. This has been Cardfight Crazy. I am Joey, and I hope now you're crazy.